And welcome everybody back to the Jets Giants show. I'm your host, Gabe. I am joined here by Walt and Jose, my regular co-host, our regular co-host, your regular co-host for this special edition of the episode as we bring to you our thoughts on the schedule release and all that stuff. So it hasn't been too long, but we still got a little bit of ways to go. So before the preseason starts, but any kind of news that we can get to, we're going to talk about it. So thank you guys for joining us. Guys, how have you guys been? Tell me, what do you guys think of everything so far? We got a lot to get to, but tell me, what are you guys up to?
Not much. I mean, tonight, it's the excitement for us. We're recording on a Friday night, the 17th of May, right? So in about an hour after the time recording, we got Knicks hopefully closing out this series against the Pacers in Game 6 in Indiana. So that's the excitement right now. Like, that's basically what I'm waiting on.
I'm going to be alive with the Rangers win last night, too.
Next. Yeah, New York is on fire right now, dude. The Yankees are doing pretty solidly as well. You know what I mean? It's an exciting time. A lot of great superstars in New York, a lot of great players, and Jalen Brunson's going to close that shit out tonight.
So many similarities to 30 years ago. And I was listening to the FAN sports show today, right? So they were going through the similarities of how, back then the Rangers were the number one seed and, they won it all. And the Knicks were the second seed back in 94. And this year they're the second seed. You had the OJ thing, but one of your boys went really morbid because he said, we also had an earthquake that year.
Right. Yeah, we did in 94.
And we had one today. Well, we had one this year. But he went really morbid because we lost the president that year in Nixon.
So, and Jimmy Carter is.
Yes, that's who they were talking about.
Let me send it actually to an even deeper, non-morbid, but really cool fact. The Rangers just won on a third period hat trick by Chris Kreider, which the last time that happened
Messier
was in the Messier guarantee game in 1994. I mean, the similarities are just a little bit too crazy. I know that that there's a saying that history repeats itself. But I didn't realize it was going to repeat itself with this many coincidences, and I think that coincidences be damned. It's really hard to believe in coincidences, but this is a little bit too crazy at this point. The only thing that I don't like is that if the coincidences are true, that means that the Knicks don't end up winning this year. So I hope that we break that little curse right there. So
yeah, exactly. And listen, it's going to be a tough thing. And the crazy thing also is it looks like it could be Knicks Celtics, right? And on the other side, it also looks like it could be, if Boston takes care of business and wins their last two games, it could be Rangers Bruins. So
yeah.
New York versus Boston is always fun, right?
So also, does this mean that the Yankees are going to win 4 out of the next 6 World Series championships? I think, right?
You know what? Actually, you know what? This is like the squad. This is the year. Like, so far, the squad looks like the core is actually there. The Yankees do look like this is the long-term core that's going to actually make something happen over the next 6 to 8 years. So
get it this year.
I believe it.
Next year, I think, right? Or 2 years from now, I think would be the first one.
Yeah, because they won in 96.
Yeah. So they would win in 2 years and then lose one and then close out the decade with another couple.
There you go.
We'll see. Well, we got a lot to get to still. Like I said, we have schedule releases for both teams, but quite a bit of Giants news. So we're going to get right into the Giants news. But before we actually get started, make sure you guys like, rate, share, and subscribe. Thank you guys for joining us. Don't forget to share this with all your friends, all your families, all your sports geeks, just like us. It helps us a great deal in order to continue recording these podcasts and bring our fandom to you guys. So that being said, where do we start?
I'll show you. Time for you to get excited, buddy. Here we go.
The 1925 New York Football Giants.
And now for the game of the week, we take you to the Polo Grounds, New York.
The New York Giants, our champions, 10 strong, bursts up the middle. Mel Hines, football's greatest center. Frank Gifford is Player of the Year.
Davis Gully cruising.
Last 20 yards, all those pretty white sneakers.
Welcome to Giant Stadium.
Going there like a bunch of crazy dogs. Montana took a shot.
A Super Bowl champion of the Giants.
Curtis Anderson throw the uppercut.
Kyrie makes the catch. Touchdown Giants. Was he inbounds? Yes. Manningham on the sideline. Giants have won Super Bowl 46.
The rest of your life, man, nobody can ever tell you that you couldn't do it, because you did it.
Believe, believe, believe. You show me you can't hit, you don't belong here, then let's go to work. And they're celebrating in the aisles at MetLife Stadium.
That's a lot of freaking history right there, bro.
I gotta say, man, like, that kind of a video like that can only make a Giants fan proud, man. Got goosebumps and chills just looking at all that history. Kind of, I feel like it's very easy to encapsulate what the identity of the Giants are just by watching a video like that. It's history, it's legendary, it's kind of a certain consistency there, even if we have some time in between championship runs and stuff. But I think that like the Giants has always been there.
3. Is it 4 Super Bowls or 3 Super Bowls? 4 Super Bowls, right? Right. Yep. Yeah, 4. That's what I'm remembering. Yeah. I think they've all been in our lifetime, haven't they? Or no,
the first one is in 86.
Our lifetime.
The first one.
Well, another reason why Eli deserves to be a Hall of Famer for the franchise. He's the only 2-time Super Bowl champion for the franchise.
Yep.
Never going to not quarterback that Eli should be in the Hall. First ballot, 100 votes, 100% votes.
Joe Namath is in the Hall. He's the winningest quarterback in New York. I talked about this before. I gave your boy his flowers. He's the most successful quarterback with the most Super Bowls in New York. So, we don't count off.
Anyway, let's get right to it. The Giants are doing something really cool for this 100th season. They got a lot of cool things that they're doing. They're going to be doing a lot of cool giveaways throughout the season. They have a list of top 100 Giants of all time, which is going to be interesting for us recent fans to see exactly where our favorite players are going to land on that list. Very curious to know where Eli's going to land personally. Very curious to know if any current Giant players are even on the list in any way. I
don't mean to Daniel Giants, but I gotta wonder, like, would they even put some former recent Giants on that list?
Saquon will not be on that list. Saquon
for a few years.
You know what? The only way that Saquon would be on that list is with that list being released or this list being made before he signed with the Eagles. I don't know. This sucks. I don't like it, but he didn't come anywhere near Tiki Barber's record and stuff, which is what he stated that he wanted to do is beat Tiki Barber as a Giant and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I don't see Saquon being on that list.
Still gonna be a lot of exciting awesome players on there. Current players, that's interesting. Any current players? Maybe not yet.
That'd be tough.
Eli needs to be on that list, though. Eli needs to be on that list.
Probably
top 5,
top 25, but at least higher than that, probably.
Who do you guys think is going to be number 1?
Me personally, and there's a little bias on my part. It's got to be LT.
Yeah, I mean,
LT was the face not only of that franchise, but for a long time, he was the face of the NFL. He's always consistently thought of as the greatest defensive player of all time. You know what I'm saying? So I'd be disappointed, to be quite honest, if he wasn't number 1.
Really?
Yep.
I think
by the way, Saquon is
there's a lot of other legends, but
Saquon is number 4 on the career rushing list for the Giants. So just so you know,
let's not tease him too much. Let's antagonize him too much.
Let's not talk about.
He's going to see plenty of Saquon.
Mr. Barkley, okay?
But you got to
put
LT definitely has to be number one in my mind. You know, I can't.
I mean, I can make a case for Eli Manning.
I'm sorry, LT.
Bowls,
like I said, Eli Manning is great. Eli Manning won his 2 Super Bowls, but at no point was he ever considered the greatest quarterback of all time the way LT was.
Yeah, but we're talking about Giants,
I feel like
greatest Giants. So what do they mean for the franchise?
But that's what I'm saying. You made the case that not only was he one of the greatest Giants, he was one of the greatest NFL players ever.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I would not be mad with a 1 and 2 personally.
No, I'll be down with that. Yeah. Definitely.
Like Eli number 1.
You know?
Yeah, 2 Super Bowls gets him the number 2 spot. I would be okay with that.
It has to at least.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, consider that like when we went to the draft party, what do we have on the Giants like sign and the statues and stuff like that? You had Eli on one side, LT on the other.
Mm-hmm.
Almost kind of makes sense. Like that was now looking back at what they're doing with the 100-year anniversary and everything, and this list of 100 greatest Giants. You know, I think that was kind of alluding to number 1 and number 2, but we'll see when the list comes out.
Yeah,
a little bit foreshadowing, right?
No,
there's something else that they're doing too that's kind of cool in conjunction with the Yankees, where Eli Manning is getting his own like Yankee bobblehead, but he's also going to be throwing out the first pitch at a Yankee game, I believe in August. I forget the exact date, if I'm not mistaken. It'll be in August. But that's also really, really cool, and it goes back to a little bit of history because the Giants used to play in Yankee Stadium. So that's kind of like a little cool touch. I like that they're doing all of this stuff, you know, honoring not just the history of the team as a whole, but like the affiliations, you know, again with the Yankees and stuff. You know, it really feels like this was really, really thought up concept and all that. One thing that has caught a lot of controversy as far as whether they put a lot of thought into is the controversial, to say the least, 100-year anniversary uniforms.
I see.
So, should I play the video?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's put that video out there.
New York team entry will be named the Football Giants. Introducing the 1925 New York Football Giants. NFL has grown by leaps and bounds. The New York Giants are world champions.
Bro, there's a reason why they call them Century Red, because you should only roll this thing out once every 100 years. Those things.
Oh my God! You've been thinking about that all week.
God,
you've been thinking about what you're gonna say. What's your little like line or your hot take all week? Wow, Walt. Wow.
He workshopped that. It sounds like.
Oh my God, bro! Who you got? Your joke writers to come up with that one?
Listen, man. That thing looks like it was made in Kmart, and Kmart don't even exist anymore. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know, man. Horrible. I'm pretty torn too. Like it. I know it's supposed to be a throwback, but I think you could make a lot harder looking throwback uniform than this, man. Like it looks like they're wearing like, I don't know. It's like a Optimus Prime top and like a sheer legging on the bottom, like nude leggings. It just doesn't. Those two colors don't go. You know what it is? It's the bottoms. The color for the weird like nude bottoms. Like what is that? That looks like something out of a Victoria's Secret catalog a little bit.
Well, I mean,
and then combined with the Optimus Prime badass tops. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't go together. I feel like
the design of the uniform is combining 3 different legacy uniforms for the teams. You know.
Okay.
That's where you're getting the tan pants and whatnot, which were a lot more
darker
common.
Darker tan.
They were a lot more common league wide back in that time.
Yeah. Yes. But they could have updated it a little bit better, I think. That's all I'm saying. I think the bottoms, like the tan, make it a darker tan, something to update it, give it a little, maybe put a stripe on it. I know this is not supposed to be a complete modern, uniform, but it's supposed to be a modern version of throwbacks.
Modernize it.
I think they could do better. You know what I mean?
I think it's perfectly fine. Again, it's not meant to be a marquee staple uniform. I would say they don't look that different from the 49ers uniform. You add a little bit of blue to the 49ers uniform, and you basically got a 49ers uniform. They have
the Bills
with the red top and all that stuff. They just don't have any blue. The thing that I dislike the most is really the helmets. I don't like the kind of design like that on the helmets. Me personally, solid color with the logo on the side is perfect. That goes for any kind of football helmet. I just don't like anything with stripes, let alone a design that's meant to kind of look a little bit in. They're honoring the old leather helmets where they had like the designs onto the helmets and stuff. But
it's like their helmets have cornrows though. Like it doesn't work. The helmet probably
like now that you say cornrows, now I like them even less. A lot less.
Look at them.
I actually am kind of digging the helmets because, and I kept on saying it gives me that Spider-Man 2099 vibe to it. You know what I'm saying? It really does. That's probably like the only thing that I like about this. I mean, honestly, and Gabe, we spoke about this before we jumped on the show. I would have even taken that second and that third iteration right there and kind of melded those together, because I just can't get with that whole stripe right down the middle, and those numbers just they don't do anything. They're just
looks like pee-wee football kind of.
They look like
I don't mind it, and again, I'm thinking more of like what it's going to look on the field. I think that's going to look dope on the field. I think that there's a lot of early criticism, which can be founded, but I also think that a lot of the criticism comes from something that is so far away from the Giants that we know. Remember, like this is the big blue, so seeing a lot of red and then seeing a mishmash of colors does not feel like the conservative big blue Giants organization and stuff. So.
No, it's just ugly.
I think that a lot of like the initial sticker shock, even for myself, was there. I did, keep myself as reserved as possible before my initial opinion, and rightfully so. I think like early in the day, that it was on Wednesday that they released, right? Early in the day when that all came out, all I could see on the comments is how much everybody hated it. But then throughout the day, I saw comments, on multiple pages where people are just like, you know what, like actually give us some time, it'll grow on you, it's growing on me, things like that, things of those natures. And now, even today, just before I was, as I was arguing with Walt while we were waiting for you, Jose, I went into the comment section of one of the latest posts, and again, I would say it's more 50-50 favorable versus unfavorable towards the uniform. So I think it's
149.
You got to kind of like let it grow on you a little bit.
Okay.
I wouldn't say
after you get 2 months from now, I'm going to tell you it's still ugly. So
right. Well, these are all photoshopped, I think. Right. A lot of these are not even images of the players in the actual uniform, so that always looks a little weird too.
No. Those are actual.
These are all real.
Those are actual.
Because I know the one we saw. I know this one we saw of Jalen Jones earlier was real, and let me tell you, like the one thing that we all can agree on is that man has absolutely no fucking drip whatsoever. Like he looks like he's posing for a Kmart catalog in that photo as a football player.
Yeah, but so would Eli. So would Eli.
No.
That's true.
No. Eli, come on, bro.
No. Eli had always this deer in headlights type of look, but it was still innocent. Daniel Jones, he looks like a serial killer in that picture.
Oh my!
You know what I'm saying? Like his eyes are like this.
You know what though? Like I feel like the one that I would be more afraid of was still Eli though, because like he always looked like that, like dumbfounded and angry and kind of stupid just before he like broke like 3 tackles and threw a helmet touchdown like down the field. So
no doubt. You know what I'm saying?
Anyways,
I mean, I think that there's a lot of hate. I don't like it, okay, but I expected it. All right, I'll say that.
Because
as long
it's
as the team
ugly.
wins, who cares, bro?
You expect
Right?
it
As
because
long as they
it's
win,
ugly.
we're wearing that shit.
Man, speaking about wins.
Let's talk about
Oh, wait, before we speak about wins, we
Let's
do
talk
have
about
one.
this.
Yeah, we forgot.
That's the win.
Because this to me is probably one of the most I actually really want to see this. You know what I'm saying? I think
After
this is going to
all,
be fascinating because this happens from January to July. And you know what that means. That means you're going to get all the smoke and all the drama between Dayball and Wink and all of that stuff. Hopefully they have all of that captured on camera. That's the stuff that I want to see.
You know, it's really funny because if there's ever like a Hard Knocks specifically off season to feature, it would be this one of the Giants.
Yep.
And because there's such a microscope on the Giants front office, a lot of people don't think that they're in the hot seat at all. A lot of people think that they are absolutely in the hot seat, that this season, that their jobs meaning Dable and Shane depends on the success of this season. I don't personally think so, but I think that a lot of people do. If there's ever a PR stunt that you can do, it's like, hey, let's do a Hard Knocks to kind of show what we're doing and all the struggles that we've been facing on behind the scenes, so that we can kind of like pad a little bit of that expectation, explain what's been going on and stuff like that, versus just seeing the results of all our actions and stuff. You know, I would have loved to have seen something like this for the Jets last year instead of the actual Jets Hard Knocks. But again, hindsight's 2020.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason I say that is because we saw the season that we got. It would have been great to have seen a off season or a front office version of Hard Knocks for the Jets. So I'm super excited to see what's going on over here, mainly because of all the moves, all the stuff, especially I would love to see how everything with Saquon Barkley went down.
Yep.
There has to be probably an episode where it's just going to focus on the fallout and all that stuff. So,
it's funny. It's funny because I was actually going to comment on our last episode, but there was a very pronounced lack of stuff coming out from the Giants in terms of like the offseason stuff. Like if you look at the Jets in comparison, right? They had all the behind the scenes. They had videos of the war room. They had stuff of, Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh calling players and saying, hey, we saw none of that from the Giants. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That all makes sense, right? They were holding that back for Hard Knocks. So
yeah, that's true.
And it was weird at the time. And I guess we should, but hey, considering not only this is the first time in franchise history that the Giants are featured on Hard Knocks, this is also the first time that Hard Knocks does a mini series on the off season. They're usually training camp and in season. This is the first time they're doing off season stuff, which I think is going to be super fascinating.
Go ahead.
All right, very small aside. Do we know who the preseason, the standard Hard Knocks and the in season is going to be yet, or do we just know the off season so far?
I don't think they've announced that yet.
They haven't announced it. We definitely would have known.
They usually don't announce it until relatively close to the release date, I feel like, anyways, right? So
yeah. So this is, I think they said, is going to be 5 episodes, and it starts July 2nd, and it's going to finish up right before training camp starts.
Okay.
So we'll have everything that happens up until that point. And then, of course, training camp, whoever gets training camp this year, they're going to feature that. And that's probably going to be a little bit later into the summer.
What I find kind of interesting now, again, a lot of things are making sense in hindsight, but considering how much chatter we got from the Giants during the draft and all that stuff, all these like little leaks and rumors and stuff like that, I feel like it has something to do with the fact that that there was this whole angle with Hard Knocks and stuff. Anytime that you involve like a new media component, you have a lot more people speaking, a lot more people saying rumors, X, Y, and Z and stuff like that, because you have a lot more people involved in the machinations that are happening behind the scenes, whether that be the cameraman, like the camera, hey, I heard this or I heard that, whatever, and stuff like that. It was kind of interesting, the amount of chatter that was going on in the weeks leading up to the draft, all from the Giants, and rightfully so, considering how much uncertainty there was, or there is, we can say, that there is with the Giants and stuff, regarding Daniel Jones and what the makeup of the team is going to look like, what the makeup of the defense is going to look like, what moves are going to be made in order to fill those holes in the gaping holes that were apparent last season. It's like a lot of the news was warranted, but also a lot of the leaks and a lot of the chatter, I feel like, has something a little bit to do with the fact that this was going on. Maybe a lot of it was manufactured in order to create a little bit more of a hyped up episode.
I don't think so, because a lot of the stuff happened way before, while they were filming, obviously, right? Now that we know. A lot of the stuff with Wink, a lot of the stuff with Dayball and the coaches, a lot of that stuff, I don't think they're doing that to hype up something that nobody knows is coming out. I think that was just, like you said, because the Giants usually are a buttoned up organization.
Right.
I think the fact that you had so many other different people in the facility at the time kind of loosened lips, right? Normally people that, if it's just Giant stuff, it's just those people know you don't talk. But you got these camera crews, you got, film, people.
Yeah, the people involved with Hard Knocks. Yeah. So, I think hype up is the wrong word then. I think what I mean is, like, it's almost like, when you got the cameras on and stuff like that, it's almost like creating content for the future. You know what I mean? I can guarantee that there's going to be an episode that's going to be all about the draft, and suddenly we have a ton of content that's kind of created for that episode that's going to come out. And I also don't think that it might even be a bit of a chess move too. If there isn't all this draft chatter and stuff like that, and a lot of this, what if Hard Knocks becomes a show all about what happened with Wink and with Saquon and all that? This is the easiest way to kind of get away from that. Again, all from a PR angle. I feel like that's something that I would do. Is like, hey, if they're going to talk about anything, let me manufacture the talk. So I feel like that's what it might be, but it remains to be seen. We'll see. I believe that Shane is, a guy that likes to, live in the chess battle and the chess game in every single facet, not just when it comes to player management, but, managing people, managing the media, managing, everything. And because of that, I do tend to look at anything that's happening through the lens of, hey, is this a chess move by Shane? So, all right. So, I think without further ado, we should be, or Jose,
aside, I'm going to try to call who I think is going to be Hard Knocks this season. I think the answer is going to be obvious. It's got to be the Bears. Got to be Bears.
You think training camp or season?
I would put money on that.
It could be Atlanta also. Atlanta's got a lot of stuff going on as well. So
yeah.
But I agree.
I think it was them a few years ago, though, wasn't it? And both of Atlanta's last quarterback and now Atlanta's current quarterback were on that quarterback show on Netflix.
Yes.
So that might influence that. But yeah.
But
anyways,
I agree with you. I do think
put money on
Bears.
that.
The Bears make the most sense.
I think it would be the Chargers.
Even with Caleb Williams, the Caleb Williams story?
No. I mean, one of the Hard Knocks, either in season or training camp.
Oh yeah.
I think one of them is definitely going to be.
I think training camp is destined to be the Bears. Personally, I think that's the one. I think in season we better.
It makes sense, right? Because the NFL wants people to be hyped up, and what's the most hyped up question that people have is going to be Caleb Williams, right? Like, is he going to make it in the NFL? So they're going to want to show him in practice, get to know him, and all that. Basically, everything that's happening in training camp is all going to be what is, right?
They'll take the notoriety too, right?
Bears, that's how you do it.
Yeah, and you look at the Bears.
Let's take the kid with the finger paint and all that just to get the exposure.
You also look at what the Bears did this offseason. The Bears, I kind of feel bad for Justin Fields because Justin Fields never had the amount of weapons that Caleb Williams is going to have. So
that's never had a chance.
So it'll be interesting. All right, let's talk why we're here, right? It's got to be
the big one.
This right here.
The big one.
The big one. The NFL schedule release is out. They actually held it back a week because usually my understanding is it's usually the first Thursday of the month of May, but they kind of held it back. It's interesting how the NFL has gotten so good that you can get hyped up over a schedule release, right? Like they have marketed this thing so well that a simple thing as the schedule gets everybody worked up into a frenzy. Like I can understand from a coaching perspective because you know what they need to kind of figure out when they're going. Look, the first thing that they're going to look at is when is the bye, right? Everybody's going to look at that. That's the first thing. The second thing they're going to look at is where they're going to be because now you got to look at the head of operations. They got to go and charter flights. So they gotta make sure that they got this thing scheduled out. Are these guys gonna stay? Or if we're going West Coast, are we coming back east? Are we gonna stay over there? There's a lot of things that is important from a team standpoint when it comes to the schedule release. But for the fans, we get crazy over this stuff.
Yeah, we do because we all start making predictions, and predictions are they're a funny thing because it's hard to make any kind of predictions when we don't even know what's going to happen on week one, day one. We saw what happened last year with the Giants and the Cowboys. We saw what happened with Aaron Rodgers. Predictions are a very funny thing. But that being said, we're going to make our predictions anyway, because it's what we do. It's what we do as fans.
Doesn't matter. I think I was wrong from week
parts of trying to fantasize what we're doing. So fantasize about our teams and stuff and like how well they're going to do. So. So where do we start? Are we going to start with Giants? We're going to start with Jets. Do we want to go into the Giants since we just jumped off of all the Giants news?
Yeah, might as well. Let's take a look at the Giants schedule and see how that looks out. So
close that out. Boy,
look at that.
Vikings.
All right, so we have. So let's do this. Okay. I will call out the week. And why don't you guys also have like a pen and paper and all that stuff? So this way we kind of jot down our records and all. But I will call out
the predictions from last year. Trust.
And you guys just simply give me a win or a loss, okay?
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. And then we can talk about like kind of the key marquee matchups afterwards. We'll talk about the primetime games that we have, which the Giants have. Interestingly, 2 Thursday night football primetime games with the same team, which is kind of ridiculous. But
yeah. So we got Vikings first week for the Giants. That's the Giant home opener.
Yeah,
with the Vikings. How are we feeling about that?
Well, let's do this. All right. Let's go. So week 1 is against the Vikings. I'll let you guys go first, and I'll give my answer last. We'll flip it when we get to the Jets. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Jose.
It's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a big fat W for the Vikings. I don't think they improved enough this offseason. They still don't have a good running back, and all they really have over there is Justin Jefferson.
A win for the Vikings or a win for the Giants?
We'll see. A win for the Giants. Excuse me.
Okay.
A win for the Giants. That's a W. If I say win, it's for your team. If I say L, it's L for the team.
No, only because you said I think that's going to be a win for the Vikings. I was like, wait, what?
Did I say that? I'm sorry. A win against the Vikings.
Yeah.
A win against the Vikings.
You don't believe in Sam Darnold? So, yeah, I agree with you also. I think this is an L for the Vikings, a win for the Giants. See?
I think it's a win also.
Yeah, so there you go.
Week 2. At Commanders. So we're traveling for the first time this season.
For me,
yep.
I think the Commanders take this one. I think the Commanders have been are improved from last year. It's interesting to see if Jaden Daniels is playing that game, but that team has weapons. That team has some weapons there. So, for me, I think that's a loss for the Giants there.
I'm going to have to agree. I think the Commanders are a solid team, they have seen some improvement. I think that they're going to lose to the Commanders.
I think you guys forgot that the Giants own Washington. That's a win for the Giants again. Listen, it doesn't matter the state of the Giants. I think that we are their daddies and we're going to win just because it's the Giants versus the former Redskins.
Listen, to me, I think it is important that the Giants win these first two games because weeks 3 through 8 are brutal. Let's take a look at that, starting with going to Cleveland and facing the Browns. That's a loss for me.
I'm sorry, I got to agree. That's a loss.
Yeah,
the Browns defense is too tough.
Yeah, I think so. I will agree that I do think it's a loss, although it's a coin toss for me personally. I think that last year was a little bit of a fluke season for the Browns. I don't know that they're going to repeat the same success they had last season. Joe Flacco and company, not that he's not their captain or their leader and stuff like that, but I'm just saying, like, Joe Flacco gave them a season that I think that nobody expected them to have, nor one that I don't expect the Browns to be able to repeat.
But you also got to remember the only reason Joe Flacco was there was because Deshaun Watson was hurt. He's coming back healthy,
right?
And he's got a very good stable of backup quarterbacks this time. They have, I believe, Tyler Huntley from the Ravens, and they also signed Jameis Winston. So,
right. But I believe that our defense this year is actually, it's bolstered up. I mean, again, there's a lot of what ifs, right? We don't know exactly what the defense is going to look like without Wink. We don't know what our offense is going to look like, because we don't even know what quarterback we're going to have.
Right.
I'm going to assume that the Giants did their job. They did their job on offense and on defense. And if they did their job on getting the right personnel, then the players on the field will do their job as well. And the players on the field, for me, tell me that our defense will be able to hold the Browns back. So, I still give it a loss, just because it is a little bit of a coin toss and all that. But week four, we host the Cowboys, and I'm still a little bit traumatized from last season and getting wrecked by the Cowboys. The Cowboys, it's interesting because the Cowboys didn't really do anything in the offseason. They're kind of like the butt of all the jokes right now. But at the same time, the Cowboys didn't really lose a lot. They're kind of the same team from last season. And if that's the case, then let's not forget how great the Cowboys were last season. And if we got to face that same team, that same offense, that same defense, and we're not ready for them, we're going to be in a bit of trouble. So I think that's a loss.
Jose, you want to take this one before I hit this one?
Okay, so this is a home game for the Giants.
Thursday night.
This is also a
Thursday night
football game, and man, I hate to put it on like prime time sometimes versus like regularly scheduled games, but like the Giants in prime time have not been good bedfellows at all in recent seasons, especially not against division rivals. I'm afraid I'm going to have to give this a loss to the Cowboys.
So I'm struggling here because I really want to give a W here. I think it's important that the Giants win as many games early as possible. But I look at this. This is a game where they're coming off of playing the Browns 4 days beforehand. This is a Thursday night game. It is in MetLife, which gives them a little bit of an edge. Cowboys, I hate to say it, I think they're diminished from last year. They've lost a couple of players. They're not the same team. They did absolutely bupkis in free agency. They did nothing to improve that team. So I think the gap between the Giants and Dallas is shortened. I'm gonna give them a win here, just because I feel like this is something where the Giants are gonna look at it and says, you know, we got to start winning here. You know, so I'm gonna give them a win on that one.
All right, so week 5 with the Seahawks, we travel again to the Seahawks. That's another thing that I like. I'm looking at the schedule, just quick snapshot. Our road games aren't as bad. I think last season there was like a spurt where we just had so many back-to-back, not just road games, but also just, you know, and I think that had to do with the fact that, you know, Aaron Rodgers was taking a lot of MetLife time up, or would have taken a lot of MetLife time up, and the Giants suffer for that. Our road games are a little bit spread out, as well as our opponents. We got the Seahawks week 5. What do you guys think? Geno and company. Let's remember that Pete Carroll's not there anymore. This is essentially a new offense.
I'm gonna give a W to the Giants. I'm not impressed by the Seahawks at all. I think they're a good team. They're not a great team. I don't necessarily believe that Geno is going to have the type of season that he had last year. I think he'll be good.
Or the year before?
Yeah, or the year before. So I'm gonna give a W here for the Giants.
I've got to give it another L. I know the Seahawks are not going to be as impressive, but they have matched up really well against the Giants in prior seasons. Here's what I got to say, because I'm going to have to qualify this, I think, a little bit beforehand. A lot of what is in the Giants for me this year is uncertainty. I can clarify that more later. But until I see some certainty, I'm a little traumatized by last year. We didn't expect them to be world beaters last year, but like they fell apart. And a lot of that has to do with Daniel Jones. A lot of that has to do with injuries. But confidence for me is low. I don't think they can beat the Seahawks still.
I definitely think that we win this game with the Seahawks. Again, I'm also not very impressed with the Seahawks, and because they're dealing with essentially a new coaching staff, there's going to be a little bit of that, you know, ramp up. And because it's still relatively early on in the season, it's week 5. I think that they're not necessarily going to be buttoned up together yet as a team, as a coaching staff. With a new offense and stuff. So I think that we're probably going to be a little bit more prepared. And to your point with like the whole injuries and stuff like that, yeah, that's the thing that I think hampered us the most last season. You know, I think that if we didn't have the injuries that we dealt with last season, if we didn't have the infighting that we had on defense either, I think that we would have been able to replicate a bit of a better season than the previous year, the year that we went to the playoffs and stuff. So that's why I still have confidence in the Giants, and also because I don't want to. I'm always a glass half full kind of guy. So if we're kind of starting clean and, you know, everyone's going to start healthy, I'm not going to think that I don't want to take the injuries into account until the injuries happen, you know, because I don't want to put that out in the universe. So I'm operating as if we won't have any major catastrophic injuries again, because that would be terrible to happen 2 seasons in a row. So week 6, Bengals. I think we're all probably going to agree on this one.
That's an L.
That's an L.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow is still king. Joe Burrow is
if he's on that field,
you know what I mean? So
if he's not on that field, y'all win. But if he's on that field, y'all lose. It's like really that simple, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be on the field, especially because Joe Burrow, I think, is going to come back. He's you know, Cool Joe is that guy that
Sunday Night Football
that steams on on the skin. He might be cool in the face, but I know that like last season he's heated by the way that things went. You know, as far as like, again, injuries and taking him out for the season and all that stuff. I think he's going to come back and he's going to try to have like a big comeback season, you know, remind everybody who he is and all that stuff. And unfortunately, we're gonna catch some strays. So I think we lose that game.
Man.
And for the first time this season, okay,
on my birthday. On my birthday.
On your birthday, that's
on
right.
My birthday.
Oh, we host the Eagles. It'll be the you know, I would like to say homecoming for Mr. Barkley, but I don't think it's going to be a very, very welcome homecoming. So we'll see where we are by then. But guys, what do you guys think? Survey says.
I think you're gonna win this game. I think the Eagles are a talented team that run a high school offense, and with the loss of their big man, it's going to be a lot harder for them to just put y'all away, put teams away, and just push their way into everything. I think you're going to beat the Eagles in this game in prime time, Sunday Night Football, for Walter's birthday, no less.
Yep. Well, for me, that's a loss. I look at the team, and you mentioned the offense, but you got to remember that offensive coordinator is gone. So is the defensive coordinator. They brought in Vic Fangio. That team got better in the offseason. And so there's
the same thing.
Yeah, there's a gap. That gap that I said was lessening with Dallas and the Giants, I think in terms of the Eagles, it's widening. So the Eagles are clearly the class of the NFC East, and I think they're going to show it on that day.
Yeah, I also agree. I agree that it's going to be a loss for us. I think the Eagles take this one for multiple reasons, but I think that the Eagles probably had the best offseason out of all the teams that didn't have to find a new leader in the locker room. You know, they didn't have to look for a quarterback. They didn't have to look for a superstar. Basically, the Eagles did what the Cowboys should have done, which is, they lost Jason Kelce and whatnot, but they got better in all the other holes that they had. Jason Kelce kept them in the season last year. You know, without him, they definitely would not have been where they were and stuff and all that. But I think that they addressed all the issues that they had on offense, especially considering, again, they're not going to have that tush push anymore. So that does remain to be seen how they do on offense, if they can actually finish in the red zone without the tush push. But I think that they will see a lot of red zones this year. So I do think that that's going to be a loss for us. Week 8, we travel again down to Pittsburgh.
Monday Night Football.
I think this is a win, personally.
Okay.
I don't know exactly why. I just don't see the Steelers ready for us. I think by week 8, we're going to have our identity set, everything. By week 8, this is where I think everybody's going to be kind of more in their motions and stuff. And if we are, on the positive side of, I guess, injuries and gelling factor and all that stuff, I think that we mow them down.
Go ahead, Walter.
No, you go ahead.
I think I actually think this is going to be an L. I know the Steelers are not the best team. I think, again, it's a question of matchups. The Steelers are not a great offensive team. They have a tough time moving the ball. They haven't really solved everything on that end of the ball, but the defense always seems to show up around this point in the season. They start off as a disaster, and right around the midway point is when that defense starts to gel a little bit and give teams some trouble. So, again, these are a lot of big question marks for me, but I'm going to give them a loss. The Giants a loss here.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing. I think the Steelers have a better squad. You still got the coach down there, who's a very good coach. They won 9 games last year with Kenny freaking Pickett, and this year they're going to be bringing back Russell Wilson. They're going to be bringing back Justin Fields. I think the quarterback room is just vastly improved for the Steelers themselves. And I think that they kind of felt a little bit like the Jets, a good defense with lousy quarterback play. And I think they're on their way to solving that. I don't think Russell Wilson is the answer. I would be interested to see how they deploy Justin Fields throughout the year. They might put him in kind of like a who's that guy? They might put him in as a weapon, right alongside
Lord
in the.
I know you're talking about. His name escapes me. The guy who plays wide receiver and quarterback, and
he plays for the Saints.
And, it's funny that you say that about their quarterback room, because that's exactly why I don't have a lot of faith in them, and it's mainly because of Russell Wilson and Justin Fields to an extent. But the reason not for Russell Wilson is because I think that Russell Wilson I think that maybe Russell Wilson has a lot of trouble, adapting to new offenses, and I think that's what we saw in the first year of, at Denver. I think, we saw that this year as well at Denver. And, having to adapt to a new offense again, I don't necessarily know. I think this is going to be something where the defense has to win them most of the games. And then by this time, week 8, we might start seeing Justin Fields getting sprinkled in, who is another person that we don't know why he wasn't really successful. I don't know that it's just the fact that he didn't have personnel around him. We'll know if we put him on, with the Steelers, because he's going to have like the right defense giving him opportunities, the right coaching staff that's going to prepare, give him, a good leadership and stuff. But I think they have just as many questions, and I think that we will our answers to our questions are going to be their answers to their questions.
Well, I will say this before we move on. Don't forget, Russell Wilson started badly last year, and then he turned it around. He was actually playing really well before they benched him.
No, yeah, he absolutely he was.
I think with Justin Fields, yeah, he had a problem with personnel, but I also think that coaching staff didn't know how to use him.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think there might be something different in Pittsburgh where they'll be able to find his niche and get the best version of Justin Fields. So that's all I'll say about that.
We're talking about Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill,
yes.
That's who we're talking about.
They may use him in that capacity. So, all right, moving on.
And now we go into week 9, 10, and 11, which I consider a 3-week bye week with a few little scrimmages here and there. Okay, we got the Commanders, which again I'm going to keep saying we own the Commanders. You guys already know my answer on the Commanders. Okay.
Yeah. I think it's a win.
You guys think anything changes between the Giants and the Commanders in the second iteration of this?
I think they win this one.
I thought they were going to lose the first one. I think they're going to win this one. I agree. This is a 3-week bye. The Panthers, I mean, come on.
Unless they have vacation to Germany,
Unless they have too much beer or too much Guinness or whatever, I think this should be.
I will say this about the Panthers. Not to totally discount them, they are a pretty good defense, and their offense did improve this year. So with some of the additions that they have, but yeah, they still suck. They're
still gonna get their asses kicked.
Yeah, I don't think that there's a way that the Panthers win this game in Germany.
And then the other thing
if
too,
the Panthers win this game, your season is starting to go into emergency mode. If the Panthers win this game, so I feel like because something's going horribly wrong if the Panthers win this game.
And again, so this is one of the reasons why I really like the meat of the schedule here, is because we're talking about Commanders, Panthers, and bye, and then the Bucks after the bye is going to be on a Sunday. We're talking about Sunday, off week, Sunday again. That's a lot of rest time in between. Any injuries that we might be dealing with in the middle of the season, but there's a lot of rest in between. And I think that we're going to have maybe not the most challenging opponents. I think the Commanders are going to be more challenging than the Panthers, but I don't necessarily think that it will be that much of a challenge. And we have some time here to kind of recuperate for the latter half of the season, which I think can prove to be the harder part of our schedule. So again, week 9, I give the Commanders a win. You guys give them. I think Jose, you said a win, and did you say a win also?
I did say a win.
Win the bye, hopefully make some moves, keep the momentum going.
Yeah, I think the Panthers we all agree is a win as well.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we have the bye week, and now we have after the bye week we have a Sunday game against the Bucks. So,
okay, I think the Bucks are a really, really good team. Mm-hmm. I think the Bucks are a very good team. I was originally saying that y'all were going to lose to the Bucks, but I just have a feeling. I'm going to go with my feeling on this one that y'all are going to actually win this game, because I think that you're going to be well rested off the bye week. You're going to have those 2 great wins against the Commanders and the Panthers, a little bit of momentum there, and you're going to be looking towards the Cowboys next. Yeah, I don't think y'all are going to be sleeping in that game against the Buccaneers. I think you're going to be trying a couple of things. I think you're going to be aggressive. I'm hoping you're going to try to carry some momentum into the game 4 days later against the Cowboys and whoop their ass. But we'll get to that game in a minute.
Yeah. Well,
that's a loss for me. I think the Bucs are a better team. That's it. They're just a better team.
I think it's a loss also, but I don't think it's a loss just because I don't think that they're. I mean, I think that they're a maybe a better put together team right now. We'll see where we are at that point in the season, of course. But the reason for me, it's because one of the things that you have when you have like a couple of relatively easy wins and then a bye week is you have a little bit of a hangover and stuff. Of course, you have the bye week hangover, but it's also, if when you have really stiff competition after facing competition that isn't as stiff, you kind of get a little bit of that shock. Bucks can probably, start off really hot in that game. I think that that's a loss. But, moving on to then week 13 at the Cowboys, we travel to the Cowboys. I think there is a win for us. Anybody that might have thought that that the Cowboys, if the Cowboys beat us early on in the season, I think that by this time we'll have the Cowboys number. By this time we'll be set in our cleats, and I think that we definitely win this week as well. Let's not forget that we also have to take into consideration the Cowboys and all the other these major teams and their schedule and stuff like that. But with that being said, I think we're all going to be banged up a little bit at this point. But I trust that I think that we take it at the Cowboys.
Man. So here's where I got to go with the opposite feeling, the opposite positivity. I would generally get a sense that the Cowboys will be weak by this point in the season, but going into Dallas, again, a primetime game, even with a week in Dallas and maybe with a little bit of trauma from last season, like I said, where the Cowboys were not a crappy team until the end of the season when they became the pumpkin that I thought they were going to become and sucked it up all in the last few games into the playoffs. But yeah, with all that reasoning, I actually have to sadly give the Giants a 0-2 against the Cowboys next season. I hate that I have to do it.
Yep.
Like I said, maybe it's a little trauma.
I gave the Giants a win in week 4?
Week 4.
Because I thought they were going to split the series. So if that's the case, they got the L here. This is another short week. This is another week where they're coming off a tough opponent in the Bucks. And it's in Dallas, and they're going to get hit with the turducken really hard. So
on Thanksgiving, right? This is the Thanksgiving game.
Thanksgiving game. Yep.
Jeez.
All right. Week 14. Now, Taylor, on the schedule, week 14, we got the Saints.
Taysom Hill.
So,
yep.
So I think that we take the Saints as well. Again, I'm taking a lot of liberties here because by this time, usually all the teams look very different by this point in the schedule and stuff. We have, trade deadlines and things that are done by the bye week and all that, as well as, potential injuries and all that stuff. So I think no team, this is why making predictions is tough and sometimes doesn't make sense, especially in football, especially, in week 14. But just throwing things up in the air, assuming that things aren't too crazy or too bad, and assuming that front office has plugged in any holes that were made apparent in the first half of the season, I think that we take this as a win. What do you guys think?
I have a loss here. I think the Saints again are a better team. They're going to be improved from last year, and last year they almost made the playoffs. They didn't make the playoffs, but they were right on the cusp of it, if I remember correctly.
They were in the hunt.
Yeah,
hey, we were in the playoff conversation at the end of the season too.
Okay,
true.
Were we not? Were we not? Well,
Okay.
were we not?
So were the Jets. I mean, what does that mean? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean anything. I just happen to think that the Saints are a better team. So I'm gonna pin a loss on the Giants here.
This feels like the Buccaneers to me also.
Yeah.
I feel like the Saints again are a better team.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that assessment. But I think that the one thing that the Saints have been marred by over the last few years in spite of personnel, in spite of anything, is a whole hell of a lot of inconsistency. And I think this is going to be an inconsistent week, and I think this is going to be a Giants win. But anything can happen. We're making predictions here. Who the hell knows? Yep. Moving on.
Well, we're pushing up a little bit now. It's been an hour. So I think the last 4 games, it's kind of easy to make some predictions and stuff. I think I'm going to shoot you guys my 4 teams real quick so that we can move on to the Jets. I think the Ravens is a loss. I think the Falcons is a win. I think the Colts is a loss, and I think the Eagles are a loss also. Again, things all depend on where we are in the season, how things look for all the teams involved towards the end of the season. But assuming that things aren't too different from where they are going to start in the beginning of the season, that's what I'm basing it off of. I'm not being hopeful about anything, not being hopeful about any kind of injuries or anything like that. But that's where I see the last 4 games of the season. What about you guys?
I'll do my last 4 real quick. Ravens is a loss. It's the Ravens. Love y'all, but y'all can't beat the Ravens. And I feel like he's gonna have an even bigger chip on his shoulder this year. Y'all know what I'm talking
any given about. Sunday, buddy. Any given Sunday.
Any given Sunday, no doubt. But you're gonna come down the next week at least to Atlanta, and I think y'all are gonna come down. It's not my team, but it's my home team where I'm living at. I think you're gonna take out the Falcons because I think they're gonna be. I get a feeling, even though that they have again more talent, that it's going to be a disaster of a season somehow. I don't know why.
Really, you think so? The Falcons are the only thing the Falcons were missing was a good quarterback. That's it.
They look beautiful on paper, but that quarterback is also getting older, and he's coming off a pretty bad injury last year. So let's see what he's got left.
But not just on paper.
With competition down there too. You know what I mean? Like
I don't know that.
I feel like there's a perfect storm.
Field, they look good.
Atlanta has not had good luck with football in a few seasons now recently, and we can go back to some huge blowout losses that are setting records with Matt Ryan and whatnot that people are bringing back from history. But anyways, let me try to get back to it. I think the Colts, y'all are going to beat them. The Colts, again, a team that's a little bit improved, I feel like, in this offseason, but I think that y'all should win that game. I think I'm in disagreement with you on that one.
Yeah, no, sorry. I think that's a win also. I don't know why in my mind I was thinking I think maybe it has something to do with the Lobes or whatever, but I was thinking Lions for some reason.
Loss, win, and then Eagles. What did you say? Did you pencil that for another?
I gave it a loss.
Loss? Yeah. You gave it a loss. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that this is the game. I think that this was going to be the split one. I think you're all going to somehow lose to the Cowboys who got worse and split it with the Eagles who got better. But well, let's see. Again, predictions.
All right.
Who the hell knows what's going to happen?
If we're looking at this,
that puts me at 8 and 9. By the way, 8 and 9. Or 8 and 10.
I got a loss with the Ravens. Lamar looks like he's fixated to have another MVP season. He's lost weight. He's gotten stronger, and you can't diminish the fact that the Ravens now have Derrick Henry in that lineup. So that's a pretty good. That's a pretty good.
I mean, I thought it was a loss too. So I don't even need to have any. I don't even. I can. Their logo looks better.
Yeah. Well, listen.
Whatever.
You also have to look
any reason. It's going to be the Ravens win.
You also have to look at this. The Ravens did lose a lot this offseason. They lost Patrick Queen, their linebacker. They lost 2 of their linemen to the Jets. They lost Javian Clowney, whatever his first name is. They lost him.
Jadeveon Clowney. Yes, right.
So the Ravens are a little bit diminished, but I still look at the marvel that's Lamar, and I think they're going to pull it out. Falcons, I also have them winning that. The Falcons, that's a loss for the Giants. The Falcons have a really good young team, a real explosive team. And I'm not too worried about the quarterback situation there because, yes, Kirk Cousins is old, but they did draft Michael Penix. Remember, that was the whole controversy, right? So Michael Penix Jr. is sitting right behind them. And if you're looking at that later the season, and if he's doing that, then, there's a possibility he's playing and he might be playing well. The Colts. I'm giving you the Colts as a win only because I didn't want to leave the Giants losing on a 7-game losing streak in my prediction. And the Colts, it's a tough one for me. It's really a pick 'em play because Anthony Richardson should be coming back. And last year, before he got hurt, he was playing extremely well. So, I'm gonna look at that and say I'm gonna go against all common wisdom, and I'm gonna give the Giants a win only because I don't want that extended streak at the end. But then, of course, that means last game, Eagles, that's a loss.
All right. Well, that gives us I have a record of 10-7. Jose, you got
8-9.
8-9, and then Walt has
right.
like 3-3 and
4-13.
No, I have him at 6-11.
You think it's a 6-win season?
I do.
Oh my goodness.
As sad as I hate to say this, he's the closest to what everybody's predicting, unfortunately, right now. It is not. They are not happy with the Giants so far in the offseason. It's
the defense has been improved for the Giants, but you still got to remember last year they were 27th. So they even with an improvement, they probably head middle of the pack with that defense. And that offense, with the questions at quarterback, I can't really, believe in that offense right now. It could be an offense that turns out very well because you know what? I was a fan of them picking Malik Neighbors. I think that was a great pick for them. I like Troy Johnson. I like Troy Johnson, their tight end that they picked in the draft also.
Right. I base it on the fact that I think that they improved in every single area. They improved on coaching. They improved on defense. They improved on offense. So we should at least be better than, not just marginally better, but, and maybe not even by a great margin either, not substantially better, but definitely better than last season. I think they're going to be in the 8 to 10 win range. I would say closer to the 9-10 win range based off of this record, but also based off of I think just general improvements. I think we improved in every area.
I hope so. But like I said, I really do think that they're in that 6 to 7 win range next year.
You can sum it up. Prime time. To me, you can sum it up with my question, which is, will it be enough? It's that simple of a question to me.
Yeah.
Will it be enough to take them from where they were to a playoff contender? And we'll see.
We'll see. All right. So let's go to the Jets.
Bingo.
I know that this has been pretty much a Giants show so far with everything that's coming out. But the Jets have had enough fanfare for a lifetime just last season, so they can take a little bit of a backseat.
And it continues this year also with all the primetime games that they have,
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm going to go right out the bat and say this real quick. There is absolute reason. Again, consider the fact that we're talking about a healthy A-Rod. Okay, there's absolutely no reason why you guys don't start the season 5-0.
I don't know about that. That matchup.
I love that with the 49ers, right?
Again, like I said, 49ers are the best team that you guys are facing in that first 5 weeks. And if Brock Purdy and them are just, are pretenders or not a real quarterback, matching up Purdy and A-Rod, Purdy. So I think that that first game is a little bit of a 50-50 toss-up. I think personnel-wise, you guys are better in every single area. Coaching is your X factor. But if it's just based on the personnel, I think that you guys edge out a win against the 49ers. And then for me, you just put a win in the next 4 games as well.
For me, I'm actually going to give the Jets a loss here. And I'm quite honestly, the biggest matchup that fascinates me completely is Brock Purdy against that secondary. That is going to be probably the biggest thing that I'm going to be watching in that game, because that's fascinating to me. The only problem that I have is that it's so early in the season, and you're talking about a quarterback in Aaron Rodgers that really hasn't had time to really gel with that offense. If this was an Aaron Rodgers that had played the entire year last year and they're coming back with the same cast of characters, then I have a little bit more faith in that offense gelling very, very early in the season. I still think there's going to be a little bit of hiccups with that team, with the Jets, just kind of trying to get to know each other. And listen, San Francisco was in the Super Bowl last year, so you can't discount that either. So I think it's going to be a very close game. I think it's going to be a very physical game. But at the end, I think it's going to be San Francisco starting the season 1-0 and the Jets 0-1.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, with the 49ers, like Walter said, I was literally about to make the point that Aaron Rodgers didn't get to play all of last season, and he kind of has a all new offense all over again this season. He hasn't had time to do anything with this offense. And the 49ers have a very, very good defense still. This is not the team you want to try things out in your first week on offense with. So I think that's a loss. As far as the other four, since you rolled through those, I mean, I think I kind of have to agree with those. We're going to beat the Titans. Come on. We should beat the Patriots really badly now. Again, this is all contingent on Aaron Rodgers lasting more than like 15 minutes. The Broncos we should beat as well, I think. And the Vikings, I mean, I think we're going to go and have a tea party on them in London in week 5. So I think that should be a huge beatdown, which I will get to tease one of my close friends about, who I've gone to see many Jets Viking games with. So I hope that that's how it turns out in the first few weeks, 4-1.
Right. I kind of agree with. Oops, wrong one. I kind of agree with that. Also, I think the Titans, not as good as they were last year. The loss of Derrick Henry is going to be big for them, and
Right.
so
and not very good to begin with. Right?
I don't know how they replace him there. The Patriots on Thursday night, which I'm actually going to be at. I am going to that game.
Yes.
Yeah, the Patriots suck. Let's put it this way. The Patriots have been bad for quite a number of years. The only reason that the Jets haven't been able to beat them is because of the Bill Belichick effect. The Broncos, while somewhat improved, I guess, if you can say, I don't even think you can say that. That's a win. And then the Vikings are the Vikings, even though we're going to be going over across the pond. The only thing that I worry about with this Jets schedule for the first 5 games is the fact that the first 3 games are within 11 days of each other. And that is tough. So that
but it's also, you guys are also at the freshest.
Right. But I don't think that's going to be as much of a factor. The only thing that I worry about with the Jets and the 3 games in 11 days is the fact that a lot of the guys that they brought over are older players, and that could factor in to how well they play if there are injuries and things of that nature. So that's the only worry that I have for that first 5-week span for the Jets.
All right. So sorry if you guys keep seeing me come off screen. I am dealing with a little bit of a head cold, so trying to not throw all these boogers onto the camera for you guys. All right. So now this is where it starts getting a little bit tougher. You got the Bills, which I think are diminished. This is a little bit of a toss-up, I think. I think if you guys are healthy, then you have a shootout with Josh Allen, and this is going to be a home game for you guys. So I don't think that Josh Allen is going to have as good a season as he had last year. The Bills are a diminished team, I think, by a lot, to be honest with you. So I think that this is a win also, actually.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that also. That is the Bills on. I keep switching over.
Wrong one.
The Bills on Monday.
I know you really want to be a Giants fan, but it wouldn't work for the podcast. You have to kind of stick to your own lane.
It's okay. The Bills on Monday night, I think I agree with you. The Bills are a diminished team. And you know what? I truly believe that window for the Bills is closing very, very quickly. And only because of the reason is because Josh Allen now needs to get paid. He was working on a rookie contract. They were able to keep a lot of those players. And you saw this season a lot of the reasons why they let guys like Stephon Diggs go, like Poyle, like a lot of their defensive players is cap management. They couldn't afford those players. And so that problem is only going to get worse as Josh Allen contracts continues to inflate. So I don't think the Bills make the playoffs this year, to be quite honest.
Yeah, neither do I.
So that's where I'm at. That's a win for me with the Jets.
Yep, I have to agree. I think we got them last year in Monday Night Football. I think we're going to get them again. They are severely diminished. They were a team that was facing a lot of challenges by the end of last year already before we got here. And then again, a lot's in flux. I think a lot this season, I'm basing it a little bit on intangibles and not just what's on the field. And I think the Bills have a very tough situation in the locker room, in the front office, with the fans. Like, I think there's a lot going on there that is going to be a huge distraction. I think they're going to lose this game. I think the Jets are going to win this game. The Bills are going to lose.
Steelers.
All right. Man,
Steelers.
Again, looking at the schedule and stuff. Again, and don't forget, that I'm looking at things glass half full. I'm not thinking about any injuries and stuff like that. Again, teams being healthy, I think you guys win the next 5 games again. This is ridiculous. I think the only team that you guys might be worried about in the next 5 games really is going to be the Steelers. But Patriots, Texans, Cardinals, Colts, maybe the Texans also. But I don't want to give you guys this much credit, but I think that you guys might be on the verge of the best season that you guys have ever had.
We're like 10-0 so far, I think.
I mean, on my card you are.
Yeah. Okay.
I got you guys winning all the way to the bye.
That's fantastic. I think we're going to lose to the Steelers, though. I think that's going to be a hiccup. I think that's the start of another 4-game winning streak, or another 5-game winning streak after that, because I had them winning 5 games after losing to the 49ers. But I think, again, the Steelers they're always like a deceptively solid team because Tomlin is a deceptively excellent coach. You know what I mean? He does a lot with very little. He's almost like a Spoelstra, like a Mike Spoelstra in the NFL. Like,
actually, I would agree with that. He is kind of like
some shit together, right?
It's kind of like as a team, they shouldn't be this good, but the coach is the X factor.
Yeah, it's just like he takes whatever people are good at and makes them the best that they possibly can be at it, except the quarterback. That's his one weakness, unfortunately. He's not a quarterback's coach. So I think that's going to be a loss. I think, again, Patriots, come on. I mean, they don't have even Belichick, who has been the bane of our existence for so long. So we should sweep them. Texans is going to be a tough game, but we played them tough last year. And I think this year with the offense hopefully clicking, I think we beat the Texans also. Cardinals, we should beat the Cardinals. I mean, again, it's maybe not as much of a pushover as we seem to think. The Cardinals seem to do surprisingly well against tough teams and surprisingly badly against bad teams. They're very strange, but I think we'll beat them, and I think we'll beat the Colts, and I think we'll go into the bye with a 10-2 record. Yeesh. Go Jets.
So
it doesn't feel right.
I'm gonna go against. Look, why do I keep pressing this? You know what?
It's like your secret Giants fandom.
The green one.
Going straight up. You know what I'm saying? So
you know what it is? I think the red and blue jerseys really got you thinking that you should switch.
They got you colorblind.
I just keep looking at the Giants schedule and wondering where the hell are those ugly uniforms going to pop up.
You distracted by the Knicks game? What's going on?
Yeah. And anyway, on my birthday again, Sunday Night Football, the Steelers. I think the Jets lose that game.
Yeah.
I just there's something about the Steelers. I don't know what it is, but they are a good team. They have a great coach. So I'm gonna give it to the Steelers at the Steelers. The Steelers are gonna win that game, and then the Patriots. They're going to lose that. The Patriots are gonna lose that game. They're gonna sweep the Patriots this year. They're gonna start their own.
You're gonna beat them 4 times somehow.
Yeah, they're gonna start their own 13-game winning streak right here.
I hope so. Oh my God.
The Texans.
Enough.
The Texans. I'm actually going to be at that game also. I'm going to 2.
Nice.
2 games this year.
2 Thursday night games.
2 Thursday night games. Yeah,
Okay.
and that was on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I actually think they're going to lose that game. Unfortunately, I hope not. But I look at the Texans. Yeah, the Texans are a really, really good team.
Texans are a really good team.
Yeah. So
I just think personnel-wise, your defense is going to carry you. The only thing that you guys were missing was a good quarterback. Defense, your defense is doing everything for you. I don't see why your defense is going to.
Hey, listen, we beat them last year, so
I think that good quarterback is going to be better this year too. I mean, he's one of the best rookies of all time, and he's going to be on his second year. I don't think he's going to have sophomore jitters. I think he's going to be on fire from the start. So
I also kind of look at this.
I think it's going to be a tough one.
I also kind of look at this, and I look at this another game where it's like you have a 4-day turnaround after playing the Patriots. And the Patriots, they're not the toughest team in the world, but an older team, a team that is looking at, depending on, especially with their line, some older players. So that's why I think that the Texans are going to lose. They're going to lose to the Texans. Cardinals, come on, please. Cardinals are garbage. So that should be an easy win for them.
Garbage.
So, and if we're going to look at the Colts, for me, that's a win also. I just, as good as the Colts may be this year, I don't think that they're a better squad than the Jets. So
you guys get your bye week, and then after that, this is where the tougher part of the schedule comes. I do think that you guys beat the Seahawks, but I think that you guys lose against the Dolphins.
Okay.
Okay.
Here's my take. They beat both the Seahawks and the Dolphins. And the reason why I'm pretty confident with the Dolphins, this is a December 8th game. This is going to be at MetLife. The Dolphins suck in cold weather. And so that to me is going to be 2 wins straight off the bat. And I think in relatively easy fashion, to be quite honest.
Interesting. Okay.
So we're gonna beat the Seahawks. I think we're gonna bring Geno in, and we're gonna say thanks for giving us almost nothing and giving it all to the Seahawks, and now we have to beat your ass. So here's the thing with the Dolphins. I think we're gonna lose that game. In fact, I'm gonna take away the suspense. I think we're gonna lose both games against the Dolphins, because there's one thing that you forget: the Dolphins suck in cold weather. They also beat the shit out of us in cold weather last year. Regardless of cold weather, they destroyed us. The Jets have not matched well against the Dolphins and their speed for a while now. As a fact, if there's anything that beats the Jets on offense, it's speed. And I think even in that cold weather, again, like they did it to us this year. They hammered us in the cold weather. I mean, that was one of the coldest games of the year, I think, right? For us.
Who was our quarterback at the time? That was Simeon.
It's true.
It's
true. But we got hammered. We didn't just get beat. We got hammered.
That was
also, I'm not saying we're not going to compete in this game, but there's just something about the Dolphins. There's just something about McDaniel. I hate that man. I love that man. I hate that man. But he just has. He's almost trying to be like the new Belichick, and we got to stop him before he does that. Not necessarily in terms of winning that many Super Bowls, but in terms of standing in our way. He's almost getting there, and we got to stop him.
I kind of agree a little bit on that. I was going to say, I'll take away the suspense also. I also think that you guys lose the other Dolphins game, and I think it's because Dolphins are like your boogeyman. The way that I feel like the Giants are the boogeyman for the Commanders, I think that Dolphins are your boogeyman. So that's where I feel on that. But
recently, here's what I'm going to say about that. I remember that game because that game was the Black Friday game. And so that was the game where Simeon was playing. And if you remember, that game was close going into halftime until Simeon throws the Hail Mary that ended up becoming a pick six.
I remember, but all of the decisions that even led up to that, not just even the personnel stuff, all the choices they made.
I'm just saying. All right, let's move on. So we got the Jaguars at the Jaguars. What do you guys think?
I have that as a win. Okay. I think that the inexperience versus the experience of Aaron Rodgers, as well as, again, all the tools that you guys have. For me, my X factor is the coaching, and I think that what will end up happening with your team this year is that the players are going to take over. Aaron Rodgers is going to take over, and it's going to be kind of like, hey, you, Robert Saleh, you kind of take a seat. I'll take it from here. I'll be in the driver's seat, and that's where I'm basing most of this on. I'm going personnel versus personnel. I'm going personnel versus personnel, and that's why I'm giving that as a win. It doesn't look so great for me for the rest of the schedule, though, if you guys want to know the rest of it. Okay, so I think it's a loss to close out the rest of the schedule here, 16, 17, 18 against the Rams, the Bills, and Dolphins. I think that you guys beat the Bills in the first go-around, but the second go-around, they're going to come with that fury. And, playing up there in Buffalo is going to be tough for you guys, I think. Just because of how Bills Mafia goes and all that stuff. With the Rams on week 16, you guys are hosting the Rams, but Harbaugh, man, I think that you guys get outcoached. I just think that you guys get outcoached. And again, week 18 with Dolphins, I think it's just your boogeyman. So I think overall, I think you're good, but
Harbaugh's with the Chargers, not the Rams.
Sorry. Oh, that's right. My bad.
Yeah.
Change it up now.
Logos.
So you got to change your prediction.
I do got to change that.
So that's a W. We weren't closed out
with
a W. 3 losses in a row.
I gotta admit, I do often confuse the LA Rams logo with the Charger logo.
Yeah,
I think it's that arching yellow.
Kind of similar. Yeah.
It's the arching yellow. I think it is. Call it logo dyslexia.
Jose, last 4 weeks for you with this schedule. What do you think?
Jaguars is going to be a loss for the Jets, I think. I think this is going to be the longest losing streak of the Jets season. I think they're going to lose to the Dolphins. I think they're going to lose to the Jaguars. I know the Jaguars are another team that's always kind of in flux, but I think that we are going to lose that game, surprisingly enough. The Jaguars have not been a bad team for the last few years.
They haven't been a great one.
Mm-hmm. They haven't been a great one either, but neither have we. I mean, a lot of what we're basing with the Jets right now is like hoping that all of this stuff held together by like duct tape and string stays together.
That is true.
Because lest we forget that Aaron Rodgers is not our only superstar who is injury prone. We did sign a couple of huge impact players, but some that can't stay on the field all the time. So the Bills, here's ending the spoilers there. I think we're going to beat the shit out of the Bills this year. I think we're going to get
in Buffalo
huge revenge on them after last year. Yeah. I think the Buffalo is going to be that much worse, and Josh Allen can't do it by himself. He can't. And the only way they beat us last year actually was with their defense. But if we can overcome that, they're not going to beat us offensively. I mean, that's not true. Their second game last year, they did beat shit out of us, but still, I think that more of that was the defense than people realize, and a lot of that was just Josh Allen, rolling over what was given to him with an exhausted defense on the field. But yeah, I think we're gonna lose both games against the Dolphins because, like I said, I think we're gonna lose the final game of the season. But I think we're gonna win both games against the Bills this year. We'll see.
That's like the one game that I feel like is a guaranteed loss for you guys, being the fact that it's on December 29th up in there in the cold at Buffalo with Bills Mafia and the whole nine. That's the one game that I feel like is the most guaranteed.
Yeah.
Remember, all of this is still a little bit based on some emotions and based on all that.
I mean, again, I'm assuming that not a single person is injured.
So my take on the last 4 games, I think it's a win in Jacksonville for us. I don't, as good as Trevor Lawrence is, I don't trust their defense. I don't think their defense is anything special, anything to brag about with the Jaguars. So
it has been.
Yeah. So I think that's going to be. And I don't think it's going to be a relatively easy game, but I think it's a game that they're going to take away. The Rams, I think, is a loss. I think the Rams this year is going to be one of these teams that people are they're going to sneak up on people. They were relatively pretty good last year, and I think they're only going to get better. Yeah. So the Rams, I think, is going to have a breakout year for them, and it's going to come at the expense of the Jets on the 22nd of December. They beat the shit out of the Bills December 29th. They're sweeping the Bills this year.
Really?
That is a diminished team Leonard Floyd's not there. Jordan Poyer's not there. They lost both their safeties. They lost their linebackers. That defense is horrible. It's not going to be great. They lost the majority of their wide receivers. Gabe Davis is not there. Stephen Diggs is not there. They're relying on Keon Coleman, which I will say, that man is interesting as all shit because he has had some of the best press conferences that I think I have ever seen. Him talking about his jacket and his mom going to Macy's and buying this dude's got personality all over the place. I would love for him to be on the Jets just because of that, but you know what? That's not enough. So the Bills, that's a loss for them. The Jets are going to sweep the Bills. Last game of the season, there's two reasons why I'm putting an L on this. I think the Jets lose only because historically they haven't been good in Miami. But secondly, and here's where the optimism really arises for me. I'm thinking that's a game where the Jets are just resting their starters and getting ready for the playoffs. Okay. That's where I'm at with that. So for me, that's going to be a loss. Even if they were playing all the starters, I think it's a loss. But I think at that point, you're probably going to start looking at resting players and getting ready for the postseason push. So that's where I'm at with this schedule. Well, where do you guys have the record?
Well, I have it at 14-3. Like I said, the best season you guys have had in maybe ever, I think. I think that you guys have a really, really great shot at being number one in the AFC East.
I got them 12-5. I got them 12-5. I think there's going to be clearly a progression with the team. If the team was good enough to win 7 games with the shit show that they had in terms of quarterback play last year, just bringing Aaron Rodgers back gives them at least 2 to 3 wins. And then just the fact that they have improved their roster in every way possible. I think they easily probably get to that 11-12 plateau and maybe even more. But, you know, if I'm going to be subjective, I think they're around 11-12 this year.
I think they are winning. They're going 12-5. I think, I mean, you look at. I want to say you could call us delusional Jet fans, right? But if you look at the team being healthy, you look at last season, where maybe the predictions were a bit too lofty. Although you could say it again, it all kind of centers on what happened with Aaron Rodgers, and I think maybe still there was a lot of excitement, and we overlooked a lot of things that were weaknesses with the team. I think a lot of those things are addressed. I think this year, like because of how rough it was with the ups and downs last year, it gave Jets fans, at least those of us who really are paying attention, a greater focus on what the team needed. And it looks good, again, on paper. And on paper, the Bills and the Dolphins look worse. And the Patriots look way worse. Okay, and they were horrible last year. So they have a legitimate shot, really, again, if all of this holds together to truly be the favorites in the AFC East. And I know that sounds like a strange thing to say for a Jets fan, but if they're healthy, but, it's a huge but. It's the biggest but I ever seen. It's the same but that Sir Mix-a-Lot talks about in all his songs. It's a huge but. If he stays healthy, then the Jets are most likely in for AFC East championship, and who knows how much further they'll go.
So I will say this before we close out. It also bears noting that it does seem like there's going to be a scheme change on offense. You know, I mentioned it before. You know, it looks like they're going away from zone blocking up front and going more to a gap blocking scheme, which makes a lot of sense given all the players that they brought in and including the 2 running backs that they got in the draft. These 2 guys are really plow ahead, bell cow type of people that, you know, they put their head down and they're looking for physicality. And so I think if you look at it in those terms, you're going to have Aaron Rodgers not as much as a factor as a lot of people think. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to be throwing 40 times 40 times a game. I think you're going to be looking at him maybe in the 20s or 30s, if that, because I think there's going to be a heavy focus on the run game for the Jets. So, that also bears mentioning as well. So, that's a good way of keeping Aaron Rodgers fresher and also a good way of keeping him out of harm's way, so to speak. So there's that.
Well, I think that does it then. I think we both, from my end, I have winning records for both teams. I see that you guys don't have that faith in the Giants, but it's okay. It's okay. I like overachieving. All right. I like it. So, but that's going to do it for us until next time, which I think the next time that we'll, I guess when Hard Knocks comes out, first episode, maybe we'll get together then. Or any major news that does end up dropping. Thank you guys for watching all the way to the end. Don't forget to like, rate, share, and subscribe. Super important to us that you guys support us in any which way that you guys can. Walt, Jose, thank you guys so much for making the time to come through. We are in the lead as Knicks, 17-16 right now. Okay, so everything is looking good, and hopefully the next time that we see you guys, we'll be Eastern Conference champions. So, but until then, go Giants,
go Jets,
go Jets.
Peace out, guys.
Go Knicks.
Later, people.